Join me on this episode of Miss Pursuit to talk to Margie Nelson of Wild Gourmet about cooking out in the wild backwoods or cooking at a hunt camp, cooking at different areas of our community, whatever comes across her kitchen. She hunts, she cooks it, she processes, she butchers. You can learn a whole lot from Margie, and we hope you enjoy this conversation. All right, everybody, thanks for listening in to another Miss Pursuit podcast. Today, we have Margie Nelson on with us, and you will know her from Instagram as Wild Gourmet. And I'm so excited. Margie, thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. This will be fun.
It will be fun. I think the first time I talked to you on Instagram was after a podcast I did with Western Contours with Brittany. Boddington. And I think we went back and forth because I was debating coming to a camp out there, and you were like, I hear that I might get to see you out here. And it was so sweet. It was so kind of you to reach out and just say, hey, that I immediately went, okay, I like this girl. This is good. And then from then on, because it's almost been a year since that conversation, I have enjoyed every single bit of following you. And so I'm excited.
That's so sweet.
It is not, it can be sweet, it can be kind, but it's real. So,
thank you so much.
I'm excited. We both love to cook. We both love to hunt.
Yep.
And I can only imagine the conversations around a campfire that we could have, for sure.
We'd have so much fun.
It's true. It's very true.
Yeah.
You just got back from Texas, didn't you?
I did. I did the she hunts thing all last year. And God, what a great deal they got going on. Those girls get there and their swag bag is great.
Yeah.
And all the classes are great. I mean, it's such a great deal. And then, I did 3 of them. There's a lot of cooks out there that have a lot to offer, and COVID hit and I went a different direction. Everybody went different directions. And, I started out with this outdoor solutions with Greg Ray, got a hold of me on Instagram.
Yeah.
And said, hey, would you like to be part of our team? And I didn't even know what he was talking about. And I started looking at him like, heck yeah. And, I've gone on, we did a long range deal down in Utah, and then we went right to bear camp in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just got back from a media blitz that we did down in Texas. And it was a blast, but we were running and gunning. We all made 5 different meals that were filmed for YouTube. And it was a lot of fun. But at a couple of points, about 2 p.m, we'd been up since 5 or 6, just going. I was like, okay, can we eat something? We had a lot of food. We made a lot of food. Let's eat it.
Let's eat it. Let's take a nap and we can refuel.
Oh God, a nap would have been awesome.
As camp chef, you don't find yourself in that circumstance every once in a while, right? There's not a lot of.
Camp chef is different. You're the first person up. You're up at 3:30. You don't go to bed till 10. You don't get a lot of sleep, but they leave during the day. You might have some straggle back about noon. You always have something warm, hot in the crock pot or on the stove going for them. But I've got from about 1 to 4, I can sneak in a nap.
Oh, that's good.
If I need to.
That's good.
It is really good because sometimes you just need to get out of there and regroup.
Yes. I hear that.
They're really long days. It's a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work.
Yeah, I can't. And there's a difference also between being a camp chef for somewhere that you've got, a full kitchen and a full, a house, a place to work in, to being out in the backwoods cooking.
The lodge cooking seems to be a bigger, longer day.
Mm-hmm.
Because you find things you need, I don't know, like inventory and straightening up shelves and cleaning things. Out out in the backwoods, man, you got to do the wood thing. You got to do the fire thing. You are constantly doing something. And it's not the worst part, but the older I get, it becomes more challenging. As soon as you get there, you get off that horse that you've been on for 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 hours, and you got to go. You can't just like walk it off for a minute or sit down. You got to keep going because the hunters are right behind you,
right?
Or the guests, and they're going to be hungry.
Yep, it's true. It takes me back. So every single Western that I've watched, I grew up watching Westerns with my dad. That was what we did. It was either Westerns or Andy Griffith, like that. It was one or the two. And that came from my grandfather too. He loved a John Wayne. He loved a Clint Eastwood. Like we were always watching Westerns. And so watching a group of people coming in, I always watched that cook, because as soon as they got there, he was started. It was.
But he had a chuck wagon.
Well, he had a chuck wagon, which is nice.
So nice.
And that would be nice to have for things like that. But it was still you. You're the one that's there getting the fire started, because without that, you're not going to cook anything, or you're going to. There's just a whole bunch of prep to do, but you do a lot of that prep before you get out there. It's more activating, like going on as soon as you get there.
Yeah, we were supposed to be in Alaska August and September, and I was cooking for Alaska camp, and I actually hunted with the same group 3 years ago, and the camp is set up so beautiful. I mean, it's like being in a lodge. You don't have electricity, but we have generators for part of the day, but it is a pretty nice setup. So it makes it easy. Like a chuck wagon. Oh, to have everything right there that travels with you, just make it clean and put it away, and it's right where it's supposed to be. Pull out the little fly and make a fire and be on your way and do well.
It'd be nice.
That'd be so great. Cooking in Yellowstone Park, you got to move every night or every 2 nights, and you got to set up that fly and it's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work. People don't think about that sometimes. I think that unless you are there watching it happen, especially those who are going as guests or as, the person on the trip, not the guide, not the cook, you wouldn't even necessarily notice all of the prep and all of the work that goes into that, being that side of it.
Some women, it depends on your appetizer and your meal. They know. And they mention it's like they'll often say it's like, I never expected to get fed like this up here. Oh yeah. And, and that's why there are certain camps that I go on, because that's what they want. They don't want just camp food. They want something extra special. I did do a baked brie thing in a Dutch oven that didn't work quite out. It kind of volcanoed on me. I'm so disappointed. I was like, oh, this thing's so beautiful. Look what happened.
Oh, did it taste good at least?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It tasted great.
It's just the look of it. I've had a couple of those happen where I just don't look at it. Close your eyes and take a bite.
Yeah, just eat it. You'll be fine.
My husband has always backpacked, but he's never tent camped. It was always moving, going, sleeping by the fire, that kind of thing. And so when we had kids, and I had always camped growing up, my mom was, of course, the cook, and she was the one that prepared the coolers and the packs to put all of the food in and things like that for camping. And so when we were packing up for our first camping trip, like not even hunting, just camping, he said, why are you putting all of this? Why are you packing so much? And I said, well, we're not moving. We're staying in one place for a certain amount of time. We've got kids, which totally changes everything. And I want it to be a fun, good experience. And I want good food. I don't want to just live off of bologna and, on sandwiches and that kind of thing. Exactly. And he said, okay. And I packed everything up and we got there. And by the second day, he said, okay, I see where you're coming from now. I see it makes the whole trip more enjoyable. And it's something to look forward to, you know, taking cinnamon rolls and putting them in orange peels and putting them on the fire and just taking it back to just that and tasting the orange within a cinnamon roll that's been cooked over the fire. There's like my kids will look back on that and remember that and say, we did this cool, awesome thing. And it just food can make or break a trip.
Oh, yeah. And I grew up like that. I mean, that's how I grew up. We had a place up in the mountains that we spent all summer at. And then, you know, then I did it for work. And my grandparents raised me. And my grandmother, I always called her mom. So when I refer to mom, that's who I'm talking to. But we had an old cook stove and a lean-to because it was hot in the summer. Mm-hmm. And we had an old refrigerator in the crick with holes through the bottom so the water flowed through the bottom, and it worked great. We had a treadle sewing machine. I learned how to sew and cook up in the mountains. Before that, we'd go to a place called Big Creek, and everything was cooked over the fire. We had all these little funky campers, but it was too hot to start, you know, a flame inside. And God, we were sitting around the fire one time in the middle of the day and looking at the Sears and Roebuck catalog. All the men had gone with two-way radios looking for bear. They were scouting for bear. And we look up and there's a grizzly sitting at the back of one of these trailers that has a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old taking a nap in it. So the gal, the mom of the kids, she knew she had a gun in there, and all the other kids got shoved in a camper. Uh-huh. And moms are calling the men back on the two-way radios. So they're hustling back. Garnet switches around. She's going to go get in her camper that the bear is sitting his butt on right next to, because she's got a gun in there. And growing up, I thought, oh my God, this could have gone so bad. But he just got up and left. By the time the men got there, he was gone.
Yeah. Man.
It was sitting around the fire, coffee pot going, kids all got a Mountain Dew in their hand or some Shasta, and still breakfast, and we're all kind of picking at whatever's left over out of the cast iron pan. I mean, that's how it is. And I love it. I love cooking on an open fire pretty much more than anything. Every house I've moved into that I had control of, first thing goes is that electric stove. I got to have a gas stove.
Yes.
I got to have fire.
100%. When we moved into our house here, I just said, there's no way that I can have an electric stove again. And it takes a little bit of, when you've been cooking electric for so long and you go back to gas, it takes a minute. It took me a minute to get back into it and figuring out roasting and broiling and all of that with the oven part. But the stove, it is magical. There's nothing like it. And I don't think I will ever, ever, ever again have a stove that isn't gas. So you started early on then in the outdoors.
Oh, yeah. I grew up in the outdoors. It's just, you know, I watched when they first got the movie Survivor out. I was like, man, I would excel at this. I'm a marine biologist. I can swim like crazy. I grew up in the outdoors. I would be so good at this, but I've had cancer so many times. It's like, oh, they'd have to have a paramedic on board.
Man. Who
knows what's going to happen? I could go down at any moment. Yeah, I did. I grew up in the outdoors and I grew up loving it. And, I went to school for marine biology. I lived in Seattle and was account executive for Pepsi Cola. And I just couldn't do the city.
Yeah.
You know, I just couldn't do it. All I could think about is like, I just want a cabin with a dog and a horse and a pond. That's all I need.
That's all you need.
Yeah.
Go back to simple. We lived in the city for a while, and I don't know if this whole Corona backstep into our lives of being outside more and hunting more and being outside of the city I had to go into the city the other day and it absolutely drained me. I got home and I felt like I needed a hedge of protection driving on the interstate and being with all those people everywhere. It takes a lot out of me now.
It does. And, with all the things that are going on, I'm sick about COVID. I'm sick for all the people that it affected so negatively. But quite frankly, the Instagram because of it, I think people were sitting around looking at things. I got involved with Outdoor Solutions. I'm taking photos of Felton Angus beef for their Pinterest and for their page, and Miss Pursuit, and there's just so many things that have come up because of it. I feel very fortunate in a way that when people are getting laid off and staying home, I'm all of a sudden kind of generating business.
Right.
But when everything gets back to normal, I might be back to normal too.
Well, and that's true. I think that it has brought those who can adapt have done well, right?
Right.
Those who can't adapt, who can't figure out, how do I make this work, or how do I figure out a different way of making it work? How do I pursue something and push into it and not have the fear of changing things up? You see them being even successful right now. It might be difficult. It might be hard. It might be, uncomfortable being in something that's different and that change. But you can definitely tell the people that have been able to move through this a little smoother than others. Now, there are people out there that you can't, that like we count ourselves so lucky because of the ability for a job to be done at home, or be able to move things around and make something else work. There are a lot of people out there who can't do that. So I don't want to discredit that.
And our town is so small. We're about 7,000 people, and we all pretty much know each other, and we get together. And I think it was 2 weeks into it before any of us were Zooming each other a lot. But before we actually got out of our house and said, this is ridiculous. We can at least hang out together. We haven't seen anybody. Let's do a barbecue.
Oh, yeah.
And we slowly ease back in. And it seems like right now we are in full pursuit of nothing's really going on.
Yeah. Yep.
Except the stores are closed and we got to wear a mask a lot of places. But everything I'm doing, I can do out of my house or down by the river or up in the mountains. And, when we go, I've got a trip on the 22nd for backcountry archery, and that'll be interesting.
Yes, it will be.
Yes, it's always interesting when you get way back country and the weather starts getting crappy.
What do you do when that happens?
You just do it. You just dress appropriately and you do everything. Everything's the same. You just got to dress more appropriately. Like our tent for the summer doesn't have walls, and they'll put the walls up. So we'll have wall tents, and then there'll be a hot stove in there for heat and cooking. They'll get that up, and that's about the only thing different. The tents get a wood stove in them, so you've got heat in the night.
That's not bad. And those stoves put off a lot of heat.
They do pretty well. Those little ones do really well on a tent. As long as they're not back burning and you're filling up with smoke, you're doing good. And the cook stove, I'd rather cook on a cook stove than anything. So I'm happy with that. You just get up, make sure that fire's still going, get it stoked, get the coffee on, get bacon going. Everybody gets up, then they leave, and you start getting ready for the next meal.
Yeah. Clean up and get going again. How much prep do you have to put into getting ready for a trip, planning wise?
Oh, you don't know what you're going to get into till you get there as far as cleaning wise. But when you get out, you make sure all those coolers are cleaned and the panniers are clean. So when you go to fill them again, you're pretty much ready. I do pretty good just by making a menu, and then I get everything at the grocery store. I go buy produce. You know, you got to learn how to buy groceries for 10, 15 people for a week.
Yep.
You're going to spend $1,000 at Costco for sure. And then plus when it's going in on horseback, you got to play a whole different game than you do going to the lodge. But as long as your panniers are of equal weight on each side, everybody's good. Don't want it to be over 80 pounds. I don't like them being over 60, really.
Yeah.
But you got to get whatever you can in there.
It's true.
That's part of the day thing. I don't really do a lot of prep now. When I worked in the park a long time ago, when I was in my 20s, the outfitter that I worked for, his wife and I made a lot of things ahead of time. Froze it in Nalgene bottles and packaged. We made cheese blintzes for breakfast and made them individual and wrapped them up. And all we had to do is thaw them out and fry them.
That's not bad.
A lot of those things were ahead of time, but I don't really do anything. I find I have a lot of time. I just take what I need and prepare it up there.
Yeah. I think that I've always cooked for a large group of people. I don't think I know how to cook for less than 6. And
yeah, I'm not good.
There is when my husband and I were first married, he goes, "What in the world? We have so much food left over." And I said, "Well, you can use it for lunches. You can use it for leftovers. Like we're going to use it." And he goes, "But why can't you cook for just 2 people?" I said, "I don't know how."
I know.
I did not grow up cooking for there were 6 of us in the house, and sometimes 7, 8, 9, 10 if friends came over. Like, I don't know how to cook for a small group.
I'm not good at it.
No. And
most everything you see on Instagram that I've made goes to the mine with my son to work, and he knows it. He'll look at it and go, "Oh, I'm going to have that tomorrow for lunch." It's like, nope. That's a repost. Sorry. I didn't make that today.
He pays attention to know what's coming.
His friends do too.
I bet they do.
Yeah.
I bet they do. How did you get started cooking for these kind of things?
Wow, that's a weird question for me because I feel like I always did.
Yeah.
Like and we'd be camping or water skiing or at the lake. There was 1 or 2 of us that just kind of took over and did that. But as a job, I was in my 20s and I worked at this place called the Old Saloon in the middle of nowhere. And it was pretty much a cowboy bar. And next thing you know, I'm cooking for hunting camp. Next thing you know, I'm cooking for backcountry trips in the park. But then I was also, next thing you know, she's working as a flagger on the road crew on her day off, or she's working on her days off up at the mine. I mean, I think I had 7 W-2s one year because I did all these extra things. Because as a bartender, they knew you.
Right.
And they'd watch you hustle your butt off. And it's like, hey,
we need an extra.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We need somebody to do that. But God, I've been doing it for pay since my mid-20s.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and I'm old now. God, it's like I can't even believe how old I am. I feel like I'm still like 30. And most of my friends are in their 30s and 40s, and then I realize, God, I'm old enough to be all their moms.
I have had that recently. I've actually had a couple of people comment in certain way, "Oh, she reminds me of my mom." I think that one comment came up once. Or, "Oh, is that your daughter?" when I was standing next to somebody. And I was like, no, I'm not that old. And then I think about it and I go, okay, so I could be her mom. I technically I could be her mom. And then I'm going back, well, it's only in how you feel, right? It's only in your mindset. I remember my dad telling me, I think he had turned 40. He's 65 right now. And when he turned 40, he said, "Amy, one day you will wake up and you'll look in the mirror and you'll wonder who that is that you're looking at."
Right?
I never believed him until it happened.
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I get a lot of comments from my friends, sisters, and my parents and things that don't see me all the time. Like just recently, I saw one of my girlfriend's sisters I hadn't seen in 20 years, and they're like, "You look the same way you did in high school." And I'm like, "No, I don't." They're like, "Yeah, you do." All right, whatever. No, I don't. But when I look at pictures, I've got a picture of me when I was like 30 and a picture of me last year. And the difference between it is not very much. And there's about 30 years difference there.
Yeah. That's it. That's good genetics. Like, thanks, mom and dad. Like, thanks for the lifetime of good genes. But I truly believe that it's also, again, your mindset. It's what you put yourself into. It's how much joy you find in the day to day. And stress can do a number on you, whether it's parenting, work, or just living life. But I think if you find things that you actually love to do and you have goals that you're putting into and they're being successful, I think it plays a lot into your physical feeling and what you honestly look like coming out. So,
well, and I've had cancer 5 times, and
5.
I swear to God, just getting through it was like, attitude totally. I mean, the first one was like, my son was in kindergarten, just going to start kindergarten.
How old were you?
I was 38.
Young.
And it was breast cancer. So I was like, and then I had, I was like, oh God, now I'm going to have to fall back on my personality. So I started, treating it like, well, this is just a job. This is what I got to do. I got to stay alive for this kid. I got to do this. I got to do the chemo. I got to do surgery. I got to get reconstruction. I got to do this. And then life goes on. Okay. And then a few years later, ovarian cancer. But that was, I found that on a fluke. I really didn't have to do anything. They got it.
Right.
But still kick in the head. Then I got esophageal cancer when my son Rock was going into high school and he was going to be varsity football. And I was like, are you kidding me? That was the most upsetting thing to me is I'm going to have to live in Billings, 110 miles away for 6 weeks, the beginning of his freshman year when he's playing varsity football, and I'm going to miss his games. Yeah. And my oncologist was like, nope, we'll get you done on Mondays. We'll put you in late so you don't have to leave town till later on Monday. And on Fridays, we'll get you out early. You can be home by noon on Friday and don't have to come here till noon on Monday. And you'll never miss a game. And it worked out really great. But by the time I got that one, I was of the, great.
Yeah.
Now what do I got to do? And I just followed the recipe. And then I had a little 2 skin cancers after that. But I kind of, it's like, that's just my thing. I get cancer, I guess, and I live. The esophageal one is not for sissies. I do have a lot of friends who lost a lot of people in their lives because of that one. 5% of the people who get esophageal cancer, only 5% live.
Yeah.
I'm very fortunate to be one of them. I'll never make light of it. And I apologize to anybody who's lost anybody that might think I'm being flip about it. I'm not. I know how fortunate I am.
Yeah.
It's changed my life. It makes me a better person. And I'm a good advocate and a good support for people who are going through the same thing, that you can have a life afterwards. I'm not going to tell you that because of chemo and radiation, I don't have a lot of things with me. I have a lot of things going on that not everybody's aware of.
Right.
Unless you spend all your time with me.
Right.
And then you're painfully aware of a few things. But, I can kind of scoot through.
That's my aunt actually she is in the upswing, I would say. She had esophageal cancer, has had surgery, has fought back.
Yeah, that surgery ain't for sissies.
No, it's not. No, it's not. It's all. I feel like it takes you to the brink of death and back, and it is, like you said, not for sissies. And I think she's just now coming out of a cloud, and a heavy cloud. So it is definitely. I agree with you that cancer. sucks. It is
Oh
not.
boy.
Whether you have something small that can be handled within a day or something that you battle for years and years and years and years, it takes a toll on you, and it is mindset going into it. It is hard work, and it's persistence, and it's following the steps, like you said.
Well, and it changes you,
Mhm.
you know how lucky you are, and you know how unlucky other people have been.
Yeah.
And you don't know why you got to be one of the lucky ones when, and then you run into people who have lost their wife and they have 3 kids and they're floundering and they wonder how come you got to make it and she
Right.
didn't.
Right. That whole survivor's guilt
Yep.
comes into play. Man, I can only imagine, though, like you said, the things that you appreciate more, the things that you realize don't matter, how it kind of brings you back to center, to enjoying the things around you, the people that are in your life. Food is one of, they say, right? They say that food is, it's the healer. It can be the healer. It can be something that brings your family together. It brings groups together. I don't know.
Food is love.
Yes. Yep.
Food is love. And I'll tell you what, when you can't eat, when you have a feeding tube and you cannot eat for 6 months and you're on morphine and a fentanyl patch, you will sit in a chair and watch the Food Network like it is your best friend because you are so hungry to chew on something and you want some food. And I kept saying every day, when I get better, I'm going to make this. I'm going to make this. And I've been making up for it ever since, trying to make everything I saw sitting watching TV all day.
Yeah, I bet. I do that. With my heart stuff, they've recently said, hey, that COVID-15 needs to come off. And so I sit here watching, food shows going, man, I could make that. I've got, we had tons of berries this summer. And I think that's where all that weight came from, because I've enjoyed pies and tarts and all the fun, buttery, delicious, yummy goodness. And it's inspiring, going through your page and going through all of the awesome wild game chefs out there, just pushing forward.
We all started making bread too all of a sudden.
Yes.
It was like, okay, let's make some bread.
And it's good.
God, you're going to have to eat it.
It's good. All of my fresh herbs that I've had in the garden have gone into the bread, have gone into everything that I've cooked. And it just, you find inspiration outside to go into what you're cooking inside. And it's not just, the meat that we harvest. It's the vegetables, it's the herbs, and it all goes together.
And my next door neighbor has squash growing, and I'm out there stealing squash blossoms. They come through my side, and I'm like pulling them off. And then I felt guilty and had to make them a bunch of food one time last year because I was like guerrilla gardening in their garden over the fence. Oh, they couldn't reach it from there. I can reach this.
Yeah. I'll just cook something with it for them. My neighbors know if I post a picture, they usually know that they're going to get a sample of something. They're going to be the taste testers of something. It's fun to be able to share.
And Instagram's so inspirational. I just love looking at the vegan pages because they do the most beautiful, coolest looking food.
Yeah.
And all you got to do is add meat.
Exactly.
And I keep looking at it going, oh my God, that is so neat right there. I'm going to make that. That is yummy. I'm going to add a bunch of meat to it.
You bring that up, and we have, so in our household we've got a dairy allergy to the protein of dairy, and then an egg allergy. I'm allergic to eggs, and eggs are in everything.
They are.
So it's really funny going through a store because half of what I buy is vegan, and then half of what I get is to prepare the meat that goes with that. And there's a science to baking. There is that I believe the vegan chefs out there have mastered so well. It amazes me how they can make a cake without eggs and
flour.
Yes, gluten.
And first time we had guests that were vegan or gluten free, I was like, well, what? Are they gluten free because it's their choice,
or because it's
or they
which
really
one?
need to be? If it's their choice, they can choose what to eat. If it's not their choice, I got to get busy.
Yeah, because you got to figure out the science. It's total science.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's funny.
It is.
I learn, and like you, I learn from everybody. I learn how to make things that are safe for the family, but I also learn how actual ingredients work. And it's not because I've been to school. It's not because it's because I've had to learn it. And
like emulsifications and salt, fat, acid, how they work. And, that's probably one of my favorite books, but watching I think it's on, what is it on? Anyway, it's a 4-part series and it's just excellent. That salt, acid, fat. Oh, such a great learning tool for a cook.
Yep.
Just fantastic things out there. When I was in college, marine biology, my advisor one time, I was going to have a secondary teaching part. And I said, I am not going to do anybody any favors teaching chemistry because I don't dig it. I don't stand there and go, oh, this is cool as hell. This is beautiful. And she goes, treat it like you're baking. And I held out my hand and I go, this is a cup, right? And she goes, oh, you are in trouble. And truly, when I bake, that's kind of how I do it. Yeah. I know that a cap full of vanilla is a teaspoon. I know that a packet of certain things holds a cup of liquid.
Yep.
I know these things. So I cheat a lot. Oh. And I do all my hand full of flour, and it's like, is that a cup? No, not quite. Need a little bit more. And it kind of works out. Baking soda, baking powder, not so much.
Right. Those are the two that you can't screw up on. No. We have figuring out binders, figuring out what holds things together. I don't know. That's it. Like I said, there's a science to baking. It's a different beast.
Even making sausage. I just learned recently on our trip down in Texas, we have 2 chefs that are part of the From Field to Table team and myself, and I'm not a chef. And one of them was making a sausage and he was using powdered milk in it. And I was like, why are you putting powdered milk in with your sausage? I've never done that before. And he goes, because it keeps it nice and moist and juicy inside. I still haven't quite figured out why, but the sausage he made was, it was so juicy and so succulent and so great that I have got to try it because my sausage are great and everything, but not juicy like that. And if a little powder does it, there's something scientific going on there.
Yeah, there is. I have the hardest time because probably like you, it's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that. It's just to taste, right? And so when people say, ooh, can I have that recipe?
Oh, I know. Story of my life. If I don't write it down, I'm
exactly
how much? I don't know. A splooge.
Just a little bit here and there. I don't know.
How much do you think that was? I don't know.
A pinch.
I'll figure it out. Yes. Yeah. Sometimes I can't replicate it. I mean, I just can try my hardest. I've been using lavender buds in place of rosemary because I like rosemary. Yeah. But it's just a little strong sometimes. So I've been using these lavender buds, and in place of rosemary, it works really good, and it's got a really neat taste to it. But as with anything, when you use fresh and when you use dry, you need different amounts.
Right.
And, man, I made some really lavendery dish the other day.
Because you added a little more?
Yeah. Yeah, I was using dry, and I used as much as I would with fresh, and it was like, that tastes like That tastes like it smells good.
It's very potpourri.
Yeah, it does. It tastes good though.
Yeah.
Put enough honey in it. It'll be fine.
Honey is one of my favorite additions to wild game.
Yeah, me too.
And
I've got a honey and salt addiction.
Mm-hmm.
I've got so many different flavors of each of those. It's just crazy.
Yep. Honey is one that it goes in almost every single marinade that I make for a red meat. And it just adds the flavor.
And that hot honey, that Mike's hot honey, you can get it at different couple places. That, man, if you use that, you don't need a little pinch of red pepper just to give it a zing. And it isn't a hot zing. It's a
flavorful.
It is. It's very subtle and it's very, very good. I love it.
Yep. And I got this from Katie, the Kitchen Wild girl.
Right. She's fun to watch.
She's fun to watch, especially being on the Oregon coast and the seafood that she uses. I saw her make poppers one time and she drizzled honey over them afterwards. And so it wasn't, I had it in my marinade and I always have, but then I saw her drizzle it over the poppers after they were off the grill. And I went, wait, what? And it's you see on all of the cooking shows, all the baking shows, but you hear all of these levels of flavor. You've got so many levels of flavor in one bite. And I had never really experienced that until I tried that one time. And it was in one bite, you have all of those different, I don't know. It made me then, with every other recipe that I had, we had fresh bass. And so we grilled the bass and we made fish tacos and I added, the slaw to it. And then I wanted something a little sweet, a little bit, but crunchy. And so I made some hard roasted sweet potatoes and put it on the tacos. And it adds different levels of flavor so that when you take that bite, you're not just getting one thing. You're not just getting this mess of a mixture. You're getting so much out of it.
I haven't used honey on my poppers, but I always brush them with maple syrup.
Well, that would do the same. That's that same sweet top to it.
Yeah, not Aunt Jemima, though. You got to have the real stuff. I asked for maple syrup one time. Let me get your groceries. We're going to do this video, all right? Maple syrup. Oh, no. Aunt Jemima, no.
No.
That ain't it.
No. I've got family in Canada. Aunt Jemima has nothing on Canadian maple syrup.
And those Vermont people.
Mm-hmm.
Best.
Yep. I hear you on that. It makes a difference, the ingredients that you use. And
absolutely.
I've noticed recently with buying groceries that I tend to grocery shop on the outside. So, normally stores, you have your fruits and vegetables and meat and dairy kind of all on the outside. Right. And then your filler aisles, you'll have flour, you'll have, all of the things that are pre-made and things like that. But I've noticed that all of the stuff on the outside, all the good for you stuff, the stuff that goes into ingredients versus pre-made, so much more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So much more expensive than when you get the pre-made stuff. So when you're talking to people about, getting behind cooking and doing their own thing and taking what they're hunting and putting it into, not just going and frying it in a frying pan and eating it, but actually getting creative with it. You're actually asking people to go out and spend a little extra money, right?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, when you grow up in a hunting family, you grow up eating this food, and my grandparents raised me, and I was raised on wild game, and I ate it cooked every which way, but correctly. And and I love my grandparents, but tularemia and trichinosis are not two things we really probably had to worry about too much.
Mm-hmm.
But they were worried about it all the time. And by the time I hit 10, I finally got a steak that was medium rare somewhere. And I thought, oh my God,
There's flavor.
what's this? Well, holy cow. So I started cooking elk steak, medium rare. And oh man, you just thought that was, blasphemy. I was going to get sick and die. And they kept saying, I didn't care. I just did what I wanted, and kind of still do. But, just take everything you buy at the grocery store is just from the grocery store. If you get a piece of meat, and this isn't my story, this is Chef Albert, which he told this on one of our YouTube videos exactly like this. And it's the truth. If you buy a piece of meat and it's in your freezer and you pull it out, it's just a piece of meat. If you learn how to develop a skill and become proficient at it, and you go out and you learn how to hunt, and you make a kill, and you harvest it, and you process it, and you field dress it, and you do everything yourself, and you package it. When you pull that piece of meat out of the freezer, there's a story. There's a feeling you get about making a meal out of it. And then making a trophy meal. I don't care if you got a doe or the biggest stag out there in the world, and there is a story, and there's a trophy meal. Every piece of meat I make is a trophy. And I try and treat my meat like that every meal should not just be cooked up to make you feel better. Right. You put a lot of time, you put a lot of money, you put a lot of effort, you put a lot of you into getting that piece of meat or vegetable or anything you forage for onto your table. I mean, here in Montana, we get some beautiful chanterelles and the morels, and we get a few really neat mushrooms. And when they're out and we harvest them and make a meal that we harvested by the river where we fish, and either make something out of fish that we caught or an animal that we harvested, it's so much more special to eat, even if you're alone. And then when you share it with your friends and they know the story, like when I got back with my moose, I made a beef Wellington meal, or not a beef, moose Wellington meal. And it was fantastic. And we had morel mushrooms, and we had some Yukon Golds that were homegrown. And it was just a really nice time getting all these people together and enjoying it. And it was funny though, when you sit down, it's like, how much would you say a pound of moose costs after your trip? And I go, about $350 a pound. We all kind of laughed. It's like, really? And I'm like, pretty close. By the time two of us went there, did what we did, came back with what we came back with, I did the math. About $30 a pound, or 315, I think it was.
It's worth it.
God, it was worth it. But I'm a hoarder of meat. I've got so many different kinds of meat right now. It's not even funny. I've got zebra and Pierre David's, and got elk, antelope, whitetail, got some bison. Oh, who knows what else? Oh, I've got some wild hog. I've got some axis deer. Yeah, I got to get busy.
You do have to get busy, and we're going to watch every bit of it. It's the best part about the layout of the house that we are living in right now in our home is that our dining room table where we sit to eat points to the wall where we have our deer.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And they're Euro mounted. They're on the wall. It is a wall of firsts. It's a wall of bests, but it's a wall of stories. And so as you cook, you see this. As you sit and eat, you see this. And so the story intertwines however and wherever we are with whoever's in our house. It's easy for my son to point up and say, that was my first deer. You are eating it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited to tell you the story of how it happened. And I also think that the way that we have been living recently, I feel like we are living more, or our food is more seasonal. And I think that that's what we're meant to do. I think we're supposed to eat seasonally. I think that, like you said, foraging for mushrooms and things, there's only a certain time of the year that happens. And there's only we eat more fish in the summer. We eat what we have in the freezer from meat, but we eat fresh fish in the spring and summer, and it's delicious because that's when it's the best. And so I think that, vegetable wise, we can save as much as we can from the garden, and I'm glad that we have it and the herbs and stuff, but it's so much better when it is fresh. And so I love eating toward the season, and I still try to do that in the winter with root vegetables, and because it automatically goes with what we're hunting. So I don't know, cooking creates so much creativity, but it also creates different ways that we are thankful for each season that we're in.
Oh, absolutely. I love seasonal eating. I love, I just, in the winter, bringing stuff out that you canned and or dried, and just going forward and acting just like, oh, this is all fresh. Well, when COVID hit and everybody was like trying to get stuff at the store, I was like, I think I'm all
We're
set.
Good. Yeah.
I need some milk, know? And since then I didn't have powdered milk in my house, but I do, just because I had so many things I wanted to make that needed a little bit of milk, couldn't go to the store, didn't go to the store, whatever. But I kind of I was pretty set.
Yeah. We shared a lot with a couple of friends, and, but it was nice to have a freezer full, and we never, even if you're living paycheck to paycheck also, it's kind of, the first of the paycheck, we get all these groceries, and we're eating these fun meals, and it's exciting. And then you get to the end of a paycheck, and most of the time that's when it would go back to, spaghetti and, or just marinara, not even a meat spaghetti. And that's how it used to be. And now I feel like some of our best meals are at the end of the paycheck because we still have, venison backstrap in the freezer. And it's, you have to be creative right now for some people who it is hard to find those things in the grocery, but it's nice to have something in the freezer that you can still make a beautiful meal that is nourishing for those around you from those hunts.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's always top ramen. You can always cook up a diet around and boil a couple eggs and grab a piece of broccoli out of the freezer, because who doesn't have some sort of vegetable in the freezer?
Exactly.
And you can make a beautiful little Asian inspired meal.
It's very true.
Fast and in a hurry.
Very true. Do you know, we just sous vide our first, what was it, last week? Was the first time I've ever sous vide something.
See, I haven't quite got into that yet. I've done it a little bit. No. I think it's magic.
It is magic.
Truly. But I'm kind of impatient.
I am too. I like a good sear on things, which you can do afterwards. I like that crunchy sear on things, but we made Korean barbecue out of our goose.
Ooh.
And just I have a crock pot that does it, that you can sous vide out of the crock pot.
Oh, and no kidding.
It's amazing. Instant Pot makes one right now. No, I'm not sponsored by Instant Pot. Don't think anything of that. I'm just saying we found it on Amazon, and it has the ability to sous vide. And so we tried it, and it worked beautifully.
Wow.
Beautifully.
A sous vide crock pot.
Yeah. You fill it with water.
That is awesome.
It heats it up to a certain temperature, and then it has the timer on it. And I mean, you could cook it for an hour, or you could cook it for 7 hours, and it will take care of it for you. And it's pretty stinking amazing to me.
I wonder if any crock pot put on low all day
would do that. I think you'd have to make sure and test the water and see what temperature it would get to. This actually keeps it so you can choose a 130 or 140. Like, you could go in between whichever temperature you would want it at. And it turned out pretty good. I was
think
impressed.
I'll yank out a crock pot and fill
And
it full of
test
water
it.
and put it on and test it later today.
Yeah. It'd be something to try.
It might not be something for a smaller cut of meat, but like a roast.
Uh-huh.
You could put that in, sous vide it all day in your crock pot on low.
And see if it works.
Well, and then just put a good sear on it and slice it up and have beautiful prime rib like meal.
You keep me posted on that.
Interesting.
Keep me posted. I want to hear how this ends up.
You should see the wheels are rolling around in my head.
I can see everybody pulling their crock pots out from now on once Margie Nelson gets it going.
I'm going to try it. I'm going to try it today. I have a perfect piece of meat thawed out.
Awesome. So tell me again what you do for Miss Pursuit.
So with Miss Pursuit, I'm doing blogs, which are great.
Yes.
I'm probably going to do blogs with some recipes in the future, but Carly wrote a beautiful article about, the top people to watch in the wild game cooking world. And I was one of the ones she mentioned. I was like, oh my God, I'm so blown away because I'm in really, really good company with the other four.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just amazing. And I just got interviewed by a news station, Montana News Now. They interviewed me, not sure when that's going to be coming on. I've got this with you right now. I'm involved with a bunch of other things. I really love Miss Pursuit. There's so much information. Every girl that has a blog that is just, those blog posts are so informative.
It's true.
It amazes me how many of us know our stuff, and I'm having a hard time coming up with a new blog every time because somebody's already done it or done something like it. And it's like, well, man, I can't beat that. I don't know any more than they do about anything. I can't even add to it. They've done such a great job. Not that I think that I'm so damn smart in the hunting and fishing and cooking world, but I've been doing it a long time. So I still love reading other people's ways of doing things. Like if I'm out of state hunting and somebody wants to gut an animal, I want to watch them.
Yep.
Because man, you do it different in Texas. They do it different in Wyoming. It just amazes me how many people do things so differently. And, you learn one way and you think that's the best. And it's like, no, I don't know. And then you go fishing with a bunch of girls that are fishing chicks. And when they got a fish, it's like, wow, that's not how we do it. And then you get home and you look back and it's like, I think my way's better, actually. but it's something I learned from my grandpa.
Yeah.
So it's not my way. It's old school way. And, go to the coast and just the lifestyles that everybody leads. And all of us being from somewhere else and having these different life experiences, although we still get what each other's talking about. And we're putting that information out there to other women who want to do what we're doing or get better at what they're already doing or just interested.
Yeah.
Change the mind of an anti-hunter, change the mind of somebody who doesn't eat meat because it's got a face. Somebody who doesn't understand conservation and the need for hunting and culling a herd. And trophy hunting, what does that mean?
Right.
I mean, it's all in the eye of the beholder. You might be a trophy hunter, but you're still putting money into the system.
Exactly.
You are still protecting that animal. And a true trophy hunter is going after an older animal that is already, it's done.
Right.
Its prime is over. Let those younger bulls get in there and take care of things and bring that meat home and have a trophy meal. And even if you can't, because you're hunting in Africa, even if you can't bring that meat home, somebody somewhere is getting it.
Oh, yeah.
Those tribes get it. That nothing goes to waste in the hunting world. That is a different world, and it's called poaching.
Right.
And anybody who compares the hunting and poaching as the same thing, they need to pay attention because a lot of hunters' money goes towards anti-poaching.
Right.
And, nobody gets to make a trophy meal off something that was poached.
Yeah. And if you want to have a conversation, let's do it. Let's sit back on the phone. It doesn't even have to be on air. Let's just sit back and have a conversation. Let's talk about it. If you don't understand it, I think that true hunters would sit down with anybody that has questions about any of that and would love to just have an open dialogue, that a true hunter would be open to hearing from anybody else, and then hopefully we'll be listened to. And we're all not going to think the same. We all, like you said, we hunt differently. We process differently. We butcher differently. There are different ways of doing it. But when it all comes to fruition, when you go back to the basic foundation of it, you find men and women with hearts for the communities that we hunt in, for the animals that we hunt for, and for our families. And so take all of the political mumbo jumbo out of it, take all of the minor little bitty details. And I think that emotionally, the reasons behind it are very similar. And I think
when you see an animal in trouble, like broke through the ice, and an elk in the middle of a lake broke through the ice, 9 times out of 10, it's a hunter who's out there saving that animal's life.
Yep.
Mostly because they're there. People who hunt are out there. They spend their time in the outdoors, and they know what to do.
Exactly.
And we don't hunt because we're bloodthirsty.
Mm-mm.
We hunt because we appreciate the animals. And I don't know any hunter that does anything other than appreciate every part of it.
Right. Yep. I agree. I definitely agree. And I think that that's why, like you said, Miss Pursuit is so great, because you could come in being a complete novice, a complete non-hunter, and you can start reading some of these blog posts, and you can read the recipes, and you can read, what these words mean. What's the difference between antlers and horns? What's what are all of these things? And you can come in and you can hear the hearts of these women. And I think it makes it very easy for somebody who knows nothing about it to come in and feel like they're a part of it.
Well, and even antlers and horn is a hard one to try and help somebody understand, because we horn hunt for antlers.
Yeah.
Look at the horns on that. Look at that.
I know it.
And, but we know. And bison and buffalo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bison are the ones in Yellowstone Park. Buffalo are the ones in Africa, in Australia. And these are not buffalo, they're bison. And when you try and explain it to people, it comes down to, well, bison have a hump and the others don't. So pretty much let's just go from there.
Yeah.
And people don't know, and I don't know. And you know what they're talking about when they say buffalo or bison. Mm-hmm. You know what they're talking about when they say antlers or horns, unless they just don't.
Right.
I mean, a horned animal, you're not going to call those antlers. But man, an antlered animal, you're going to call them horns. It's weird.
It is. And it's a fun platform to go through. It's like you said, so many women from all over, from New Zealand, from Canada, the U.S., but even the U.S. is so vast in difference that somebody like me from Tennessee versus someone like you from Montana, we're going to have totally different stories, but our hearts are in it, and our mindsets are the same, and we become great friends because of it. So I'm thankful.
Oh, and absolutely. And when you get to know people from all over, there's a certain way we do things here in Montana. And when you come from somewhere else and start criticizing the way that it's worked for us, it's like you really need to just pay attention. And if you want to be like you were in Kansas and sit in your tree stand, go ahead. But that's not how we roll here.
Right.
And, and if you do whatever's legal, do it.
Yeah.
But those of us in Montana who throw an elk that we've field dressed in the back of our truck and drive it 60 miles down the highway to get it home. Just because you see an animal in the back of a truck all field dressed on a warm day doesn't mean something's going to go bad with it.
Right.
We're getting it. We're trying to get it home.
Yeah.
No,
yeah.
It's just, we're not storing it back there.
Mm-mm.
But people who come from other states, they don't really get that for some reason. And I don't understand. I don't care what's legal in Texas that is not legal in Montana. If it's legal in your state, do it the way you do it. Have a feeder. We don't get to feed our animals in Montana.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're eating the squirrel feed, well, shame on them.
Yeah.
But, and if that's the way you do it. I don't know what all the fussing and fighting and arguing and people criticizing each other for the way they do things. And
no, I think we've got enough against us. I think that we should be supporting each other no matter our differences, as long as it's legal.
Oh, yeah. United we stand. Divided we're going to fall. We can't fight amongst ourselves.
Nope. It is true. You see more truth in that statement today than we have in a long time, for sure. Man.
Yep.
Well, Margie, thank you. We're going to have to do this again because I feel like there's more to talk about. So we'll have to do this again.
Absolutely. This was fun.
And how can people,
talking with you.
I did too. I really did. Tell people how they can follow you, where they can find your stuff, because they know that they can find you on Miss Pursuit. They can find blogs from you on Miss Pursuit. Where else can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram under Wild Gourmet with the WYLD Gourmet. I have Wild Gourmet on Facebook also. I have a page that I need to really work on on the internet, wildgourmet.com and skillstoskillet.com, that will be linked to it. Wild Gourmet will be part of my life that's cooking and just what I do.
Okay.
And the Skills to Skillet will be the recipe part. You can find blogs on Pinterest from Felton Angus beef. I do articles for Traditional Bow Hunter magazine. Becca Garris, actually, her and I kind of take turns every other. They haven't come out till next year, but and she's one of us, isn't she?
Yeah, she is.
Yeah. So her and I both do the Traditional Bow Hunter thing, and Boot Barn blog. You can find recipes on there. Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm all over the place a little bit right now.
Yeah, but that just allows more people to be a part of your life too.
Well, in Outdoor Solutions, we're coming out with some really great YouTube videos. Just go Outdoor Solutions from field to table. And our YouTube is going to blow up and just get crazy. And the guy, Chef Albert, man, when it comes to breaking down a deer and processing your own animal, I do a great job. I've watched some great videos, but he really brings it all together. I mean, you get done watching him and you know that you can do it.
Right.
It's not that hard. And you know what parts you got going on, and you know what the cuts of meat are and what you can do with it. He's fantastic.
Awesome.
And the more we learn from each other, the better we'll all be.
It's true. And the more options that are out there, the sooner you're going to find what works for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Margie. I appreciate it.
You're welcome, Amy. I appreciate it too. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.